Hello there and welcome to Faceoff, that platform where you get to hear the two sides of every situation. I am Neota Egbe. Today we'll look at something that has somewhat brought some level of heat into the Lagos metropolis. Sometime back, in the middle of the year, around August, September, the Lagos state government passed into law a certain document that's supposed to help bring some level of peace and joy to road users in Lagos State. That was the Lagos State traffic law. According to that law, there are certain offences that cannot be committed, and if committed, they require that you pay a certain fine of 20,000 naira. They require that you might go to jail if convicted of that crime. And some of these things are things that we take for granted that have caused driving in Lagos and indeed the use of roads in Lagos to become problematic. But then that law was supposed to help to create the kind of peace that would ensure that every road user enjoys the roads in Lagos. But then some have been reacting to that law. Some have said the consequences of committing any crime according to the law are draconian. Others have said the law is timely because it is needed in Lagos at this time because certain people using the roads have refused to abide by the traffic laws of the land. Is that what it's meant to be? One of those group of people appears to be the motorcycle riders, popularly called the OKADA men. They seem to be the ones who are most affected. But indeed, are they the most affected, or is it the commuters that are most affected by the enforcement of this law which began recently? Indeed, when that law was passed, the Lagos state government gave a time gap for the education of the populace. Everyone was supposed to have been educated as regards the various aspects of the law, from the road, the way you cross the road, to the obedience to traffic signs, to the documents you need to use the road as a driver or as a passenger, or as a conductor, or as a motorbike rider, or a hackney user, or a stagecoach driver. All of these things are stated in the law. What is the problem? Is there a problem with motorcycle riders, aka OKADA? Are they being eradicated? Are they the problem? What is the problem? What is missing in the execution or in the enforcement of this law? These are some of the questions we're hoping we'll get answers to tonight. And I have two gentlemen in the studio. Two of them concerned citizens, but experts in their own field. To my right, he's a journalist, the group news editor of the Daily Independent, and a concerned citizen, Mr. Habib Aruna. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Ambrose.
And to my left, you called me Ambrose. Neota.
Sorry about that.
Ambrose is my boss.
Absolutely.
And to my left, he is a politician. He's an estate and an estate developer.
Yes. Indeed.
And also a public policy analyst, Mr. Babatunde Badamosi. Thank you for coming.
Inyata, thank you very much.
All right, gentlemen, we're not going to beat around the bush because we really do not have time. So you have 30 seconds each to give your opening statements, after which we get into the crux of the matter. And I'll begin with you because you're the last to be introduced. 30 seconds, please.
The Lagos State traffic law is an interesting law because, in actual fact, it's a law that addresses a myriad of issues relating to road usage amongst the citizens of Lagos. But in doing so, it has, I think, perhaps crossed the line of, it's crossed some lines relating to human rights, relating to the severity of some of the punishments that are prescribed therein, as well as the appearance that it does seem to have of a law that was created primarily to raise revenue and do just that, nothing else, just raise revenue.
Thank you.
I think basically it's an agreed assumption that Lagos State need a traffic law, an efficient traffic law, And if that is the case, that is therefore the necessity for road users, and other motorists for their activities to be guided by law. There may be lapses here and there, but there is the necessity for road users or all concerned citizens who use the road, who are one way or the other affected by traffic gridlocks, for there to be a law that guides their activities.
We're looking at the Lagos State traffic law. Is it one-sided? Are we trying to eradicate OKADAs? What's the alternative? You can also join our conversations by following us on our Twitter handles at Faceoff Today or at Neotaigbe. Well, our guests are here and we'll begin in earnest. We'll begin with you asking the first question.
In your opinion, why do you think, Mr. Arono, that this law will be of any benefit to Lagosians, especially in the light of the chaos on the roads in the last 4 or 5 days that the law has been in full implementation in earnest?
Thank you very much. I think it is very evident that Lagos is a chaotic city.
No, it's not.
You asked a question, let me answer. It is also very evident that we need to have a law that guide the activities of the OKADA riders, bus drivers, and other motorists.
But we always did.
What I'm saying is that there should be a law. The law is there, but there needs to be a reaffirmed law, which is why, in my opinion, that this new law came into place. And when this law came into place, I was thinking that because the government, from reports, invited all stakeholders to be involved in its implementation and its enforcement. And it was agreed that, yes, the law is needed. It's a law whose time has come. And everybody agreed that it should be implemented. You see, I don't want us to deal with this thing with emotion. I don't want us to deal with it with passion. Even though, yes, I'm concerned, I'm also concerned. But you see, societies are guided by laws. If you see the activities of these OKADA riders, if you've been following them, let's be passionate about it. Nobody is against OKADA riders, for God's sake. In Lagos State, there are about 10,000 feeder major highways in Lagos State, 10,000. But the government is saying that the government is restricting the activities of OKADA riders to 495 roads, majorly highways. That's what they are saying. That's what the government is doing. In my reckoning, that's what the government is doing. And the government is not banning OKADA. As they did,
roads.
No. As they did in Abia, another state in Nigeria, they're not banning OKADA outrightly.
Including some non-existent
Lagos State government is saying that, come, gentlemen, let's obey these rules. There are rules here. It's not a must that you must stay in Lagos, according to what they are saying. If you must stay in Lagos, then abide by the rules. It's as simple as that. So I think your question is not far-fetched. The question is that, you see, that law is timely. And what the government has done is to enforce it. And that is the meaning of government. Government is to prevent chaotic situations. I don't think anybody has a right.
But you said yourself that Lagos is chaotic, and this government
has
been in charge for 13 years.
It's allowed. I'm not a government official.
You said that Lagos is chaotic.
I said Lagos traffic.
You affirmed that.
Lagos traffic is chaotic.
And that has been under the watch of this government.
Lagos State traffic is chaotic. It's evident.
No, you said Lagos is chaotic. That's what you said. You said that right there.
I said Lagos traffic.
No, you said Lagos
don't like
is
other major
chaotic
cities in the world is chaotic. And that is why, in my opinion...
Well, I'm not surprised that you actually said that, considering the fact that we were given the dubious accolade of being the third worst city in the world to live in by the United Nations. So I sort of tend to agree with you that Lagos has been chaotic, especially in the last 13 years. It's been a mess, an absolute mess. Okay? Now, this is what I'll say about this law. This law was promulgated for the sole purpose of rendering the judgment delivered by Justice Okon Abang of the Lagos Federal High Court, okay, rendering it a nullity. That law, that judgment, okay, in that judgment, Justice Abang found against LASMA that they were not actually legally entitled to arrest offenders, and they were not legally entitled to fine them. Okay? That's what Justice Okon Abang found. Now, my first reading of this law, you cannot appeal a judgment and then rush to the House of Assembly to go and promulgate a law that specifically addresses the issues raised in that judgment. Because the judgment says very clearly, LASMA cannot arrest. Now, in section 22, subsection 1 of this law, it actually says very clearly that this law empowers the police and officers of LASMA to arrest With or without warrant?
Who disobey Lagos traffic?
Hold on, let me finish.
No, it's in black and white.
Finish.
Yes,
Yes, who disobey? But that goes against the judgment delivered by Justice Aban. And their appeal. Hold on. Yes, exactly. We should not excuse executive lawlessness.
No.
We should not excuse executive lawlessness.
To prevent lawlessness.
We should not
what the government is doing,
executive lawlessness. The Lagos State government cannot arrogate to itself the role of judge and accuser in its own case. You cannot do that.
If that is the case,
it is against all rules of natural law.
You are spoken.
It is against that.
If Lagos is the of this country,
the judge has said LASMA does not have the power to arrest. LASMA does not have the power to fine.
Hold on. Is that what they are doing?
Gentlemen,
okay?
Wait,
the judge has said that.
Yeah. The judge has said LASMA does not have the power to arrest.
If you are appealing,
the judge said LASMA cannot be the judge and jury.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But now, what the government,
the Lagos State government has appealed that judgment.
Yes, and so while you are appealing, you wait.
Therefore, it will be.
You do not present the judge the court. You do not have
to use a contest.
No, listen. Hold on. What I'm saying is clear. If you do not understand law, let me explain it to you very clearly. Okay? What is happening here is that the judicial precedent, as it stands, the law as it stood before this law was promulgated, was that LASMA did not have powers of arrest and powers of fining. Okay?
Absolutely.
Now, you are saying, by your own admission, and I know that you are representing Lagos State government here. Yes, you are. By reason of your passionate argument. By reason of your passionate argument in their favor, I have to assume that you are here. I'm not making innuendo. I am telling you what I believe. I am not making innuendo. I am not making innuendo. I'm telling you exactly what I think.
Can we?
All right.
Can we?
Now, what I'm saying is,
the issue is that Lagos State traffic is in a mess.
I did not interrupt you.
And the government is coming in to do something about it.
You can't allow me to finish.
Some people are not about it.
You can find it inside yourself to allow me to finish.
The job of governance is to make sure there is law and order.
For somebody who is not representing Lagos State government, your passion is unbelievable.
No, I'm the program.
Okay.
Now,
that's why
my position is this. My position is this, and I will state it very clearly again, in case you missed it the first time. A judge has pronounced.
Which is the wrong premise anyway.
A judge has pronounced. You cannot make that statement without having an understanding of what I'm saying. If you will please listen.
No, go ahead.
You will begin just to get it. My point is this. A judge has pronounced. LASMA does not have the power to arrest and fine.
Nobody is doubting that.
That is what the judge has said. Lagos State government has now allow me to finish, please. Allow me to finish. Allow me to finish.
Okay.
Now, according to you, you say, okay, even though you are not representing Lagos State, you say quite passionately that Lagos State government has gone to the Court of Appeal.
My person should not be the issue.
To appeal. Allow me to.
The should be the point. My person should not be the issue.
Allow me to finish.
Let's focus.
You
please.
say that Lagos State government, okay, has appealed the judgment. In the spirit of that appeal,
absolutely,
this law is bad law. In the spirit of that appeal, because one of the provisions of this law that has been sneaked in quietly is the fact that LASMA can now arrest and fine.
Can I ask you a question?
So what is the basis for the appeal?
No, go ahead.
So you've presented the Court of Appeal. Hold on. You have effectively, Lagos State government has effectively presented the Court of Appeal with a fait accompli. Effectively.
Not a personal opinion.
Let him ask you.
But that is the position.
I'm asking you. Because I tell you are so passionate and so concerned. You know, a politician for that matter. Are you saying
first and foremost,
you are a politician?
First and foremost, I'm a son of the soil of Lagos State.
Absolutely.
First and foremost.
And by extension,
and I have very serious concerns. I have very serious concerns about the insinuations surrounding the promulgation of this law. With regard specifically to the issue of xenophobia.
Absolutely, of course, it's
okay.
concern. But
hold on, let me finish. I'm asking a question. Allow me to finish. I have an issue with the insinuation of xenophobia in the promulgation of this law. There are undertones. Okay, there are undertones that have been brought forward by some of the proponents of this law.
You can answer that question. Let me ask.
Ask your question. Go ahead.
Ask your question.
I understand that. You know, but I was thinking that if you are concerned, your concern should be based on the general good, public good of the state. My question is that as a concerned negotiator,
Yes.
by extension politician, are you saying
Yes.
that this law is not imperative? Are you saying that there's
Yes,
no?
I am.
Are you saying that the government,
Yes, I am.
the government is not right in its track in putting down a law
Yes, I
to
am.
guide
With
activities
reasons.
of OKADA riders? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, I am.
What you're telling
With
me?
reasons. Yes, that's what I'm telling you. With reasons.
What are your reasons?
There are reasons for
Now, if you will listen,
taking it.
Let him give his
If you will calm
Please
down
do.
and listen,
Absolutely.
you will understand why I'm saying that this law is wrong-headed. It is a rushed law. It was promulgated purposely for the purpose of rendering the judgment of Justice Okon Abang a nullity. That's why it was promulgated. And you can see, if you read the law, you will see so many grammatical errors that are unbelievable. You know, these grammatical errors point to only one thing. It was rushed. They couldn't even proofread. They rushed through it.
Hold
Hold on.
Looking at grammatical error.
He's not answering the
What's
question.
the content is what we're looking
Yeah,
at now.
yes,
let's
Content
say
is
it's a
what-
bad law.
Are you saying it's a
It's
bad
a
law?
bad law.
Let it be on record.
It's a bad law.
It's a
It's
bad
a
law.
missed opportunity. It's a terrible law.
It's a bad law.
It's a terrible law.
It's inimical to
hold
the
on,
growth.
hold on,
It is
hold on.
inimical to the growth of
Is it
Lagos.
inimical to-
Mr.
Yes,
Aruna,
it
hold
is.
on.
I am going on record to say that. It is inimical to the growth of Lagos.
You're not talking about
As
the
a
timing
commercial-
of the law. You're saying the law itself is
I'm
bad.
saying the law itself is a bad law. That's what I'm
Okay,
saying. Now,
right.
let me tell you
hold on,
why.
Let him explain
Let
why.
me tell you
Explain
why,
please.
since you want to know.
Absolutely.
Okay? Now, I proposed in 2007 in an email to a certain senior operative of this government, okay? Because I saw the zeal with which they started, and I was impressed. As a son of the soil, I felt, here are people who really want things to work, okay? So I made a proposal to them, anonymously. I did not put my name to it. And I wrote out the proposal in full. Because I saw certain threats, some of the threats which I think they're saying, okay, in some of the arguments for this law, they're saying they want to address those issues. But they've gone about it the wrong way. It's a missed opportunity. Okay? Now, one of the things I advocated was the creation of a database of all commercial vehicle operators in Lagos State. This law doesn't provide for that. I also advocated in my proposal that as you create that database, also make that database electronically available to all law enforcement officers via handheld devices which they can use to read ID tags that these guys carry. Instead, what this law talks about is a badge. Of what use is a badge going to be when it doesn't actually give you details of the person operating the vehicle? Of what use is this law going to be when you don't even have a database of the people, a central database that can be accessed from anywhere in the state? Now, the technology exists.
But
The
I
technology
think they
exists.
do have
Nigeria
that-
now
they do have
has.
that database.
No, they don't, actually. They don't.
I think Baramosi is trying to politicize all this.
This
thing.
is not politics.
No,
I'm
no,
talking
no,
practical.
hold on. No.
I have
Hold
not
on.
mentioned PDP
We're
or
not-
ACN.
We're not
Don't
talking
be
politics.
disingenuous.
Let him just
Do
talk
not
about
be
the issue.
disingenuous.
I mean, you see.
Do not be
Hold
disingenuous.
on, let him
I
finish.
haven't finished.
Let
I
him
haven't
finish.
finished.
Let him
Allow
finish.
me to finish. Now, that was one of the things that I mentioned. I also mentioned the issue because one of the reasons for the chaos, you're right, Lagos is chaotic.
Lagos
One of-
traffic is chaotic.
No,
not Lagos.
no. What you said. Look, we can
Lagos
we can
traffic.
we can ask. We
Lagos
can
traffic.
ask
Let-
channels
let's-
to
let's-
we can ask channels
we
to
should not
rewind
repeat that
so
issue.
we can
Lagos
we can
traffic is
replay you
chaotic.
to
Lagos
yourself.
traffic is chaotic.
You said
I'm
Lagos
saying.
is
Okay,
chaotic.
okay.
It's irrelevant
Yeah.
whether
Those were the
Lagos
words you
traffic
brought
is
out.
chaotic or Lagos is chaotic.
You
Let's
said
stay with
Lagos
the
is
issue.
chaotic.
Let's take with the,
And it's
let's
true.
stay with the matter.
Lagos is chaotic.
Go
I
ahead.
agree with him.
Go ahead.
Okay. Now the point is, as I was saying, at the end of the day, the OKADA riders are an issue. I agree. I agree that a lot of them drive dangerously. So do a lot of Danfo drivers. So do a lot of BRT buses.
Absolutely.
And so do a lot of keke napeps. So do a lot of taxi drivers. So do a lot of private vehicle
private
drivers. Okay? Everybody drives madly in Lagos. And unfortunately, this law seems to focus entirely on OKADA riders only. And that's, hold on. In respect to the restriction, in respect to the restriction,
He's defining it.
in respect to the restriction, in respect to the restriction, in respect to the restriction of, in respect to the restriction of OKADA riders from specific roads in Lagos, named specific roads, including the Etiosa including the Etios Coastal Road. In one of which was the Etios Coastal Road.
Okay.
The Etios Lekki Coastal Road, which does not exist.
Okay.
It's a non-existent road, and yet OKADAs have been barred from it.
From the early part of this year, for 6 months. Please listen very carefully, the early part of this year, they recorded 4,200 accidents, OKADA accidents in Lagos roads.
If you focus on
no, wait, please wait. God, the issue here, the context of this argument, of this platform, is the OKADA riders. So let's use that context to push our point in. And the second aspect is that about 105 deaths were recorded during this period.
Were recorded from
wait, please.
Give me that statistic?
No. I'm talking about the OKADA riders. That's the context.
Well, give me the statistic.
You are interjecting me unnecessarily. And I'm saying, Lagos government is saying that you don't carry pregnant women with their babies on top of OKADA.
Nobody is arguing that.
No. People are arguing that. Because the government is saying that you don't carry school children below 10 on OKADA. Most of OKADA riders in Lagos, you and me know that, don't use helmet. This is the only place on earth in Lagos, especially. If you go to other states in Nigeria, they use helmet. They're not using it. These guys are just lawless. And they are just saying, many people are victims, to their driving against traffic. These are the things that no government that is reasonable we allowed. So what the people are doing?
So my question is, previous to this law, was there no law barring all these things?
I'm talking.
Was there no law barring all these things?
Government's duty and function
Was there no
is
law
to
barring all
revise
these
laws to conform with the realities of land. What they have done, what is
revise them in order to raise more revenue?
No. I beg your pardon. You are simplifying these things.
No, I'm not.
No, that's what you are doing.
You are complicating them.
What this law have done?
You are complicating them unduly.
No. The government is not banning OKADA outrightly.
No, they're not. I agree. But they are restricting them in such a way that it's a gain to the larger majority of Lagosians.
They need to be educated. People like you should know overheat the issue.
Educating OKADAs. Now, let me reel out some facts here before we go ahead. I have some questions that are coming in from Olotu 1, Dave Agbola. Olotu 1 says, OKADAs do not fit into a modern city means of transportation and has brought more harm, like robberies and accidents, etc. Dave Agbola says, without OKADA, Lagosians are finished. The experiences we have been having as commuters since Monday are pointers. Jide Ogunle says, what does the Lagos State government want the OKADA riders to live on? Many of them use their bikes as a major source of income. Now, here are some of the facts. Before the elections, they began seizing of bikes even before the emergence of this law sometime last year. That is unconfirmed, as an unconfirmed fact. But this is confirmed. Before the elections, helmets were handed out to the OKADA drivers. But now that the elections are over, one wonders what happens to those helmets if the bikes are seized. And so far, according to media reports, about 3,000 bikes have already been seized and crushed. Is that true? What happens to those 3,000 bike riders? And I understand from those media reports also some of those bike owners are not exactly OKADA riders. They use them for their personal movement across town. Also, some colleagues of mine had to trek all the way from Marina in Lagos State all the way to Kofo Abayomi. And according to them, they called a Lagos State government official who told them that exercise is good for them. They should continue to trek. Is that what's going to happen? And so far, since this ban began, or since the enforcement of these laws, there are hundreds of people who are stranded on the roads waiting for the buses or waiting for the few buses that they are. So where do we go from here? What's going to happen?
I think I quite understand the reservation people are expressing. I also understand the emotion attached to this reservation.
Let's leave out the
emotion.
Let's
to this grief. No,
let's look at the facts.
It's emotional. It's emotional.
No,
you cannot remove emotion.
It's not emotional, sir.
You see, the point is that
some of these people
let me talk,
no longer have jobs.
Let me space to talk. You see, I agree that some people will be affected. In terms of employment, in terms of
some
being despondent, in terms of losing hope in the future, and I quite appreciate the fact that the government is not mindful of these kind of predicaments.
You know this how?
But
not being a government spokesman.
But you see, the fact remains that there comes a time, that comes a critical juncture that the government must be assertive. Government's job is to protect lives and property. You know, when you see people dying on the road, when you see people plying highways without being checkmated,
Like they did at
when you see people creating unnecessary stress, crisis in the state, I think government responsibility is to checkmate it and provide, making sure that but at the same time, I think government has a duty to provide alternatives. You know, to provide alternatives, because the easy way of saying it, or people are using it, is that these bikes have been taken away from them, they've been destroyed. There will be armies of unemployed, and by extension, the level of crime rate may be increased. But I think government also has a duty to assuage those people and their feelings.
Okay, to assuage their feelings. Okay, let's look at some of the tweets that are coming in here. Lauren Femi Olada says,
I agree with me on
that. He agreed with you. Faceoff is having good ideas and brilliant innovations, but the truth of the matter is that we are not yet ripe for this banning of OKADAs.
My position, like I said to my colleague here earlier, is that this law is wrong-headed. It is rushed. It wasn't thought through properly. The effects were not considered carefully enough. And the result is the chaos you see on the streets in Lagos in the last 4 days. It will not abate. It will only get worse.
You know that
the roads, when they started BRT, I thought that it was a great idea. BRT in of itself is a great concept. But there has to be a lot of preparation before you actually put the buses on the road. One of the things that you do is make sure that the roads that the buses are going to ply are that good that the buses are going to last much longer, okay, than they are doing at the moment.
Absolutely.
The lifespan of an average BRT bus today, that is as operated by Lamata, is about 6 months. Ask them, they will confirm this to you. If you go to their yards, you see hundreds of carcasses of buses that are no longer serviceable. And the reason is why? Because they failed to treat the road surfaces on which the buses were going to ride. That's number one. Number two, they created physical barriers. Totally unnecessary, in my opinion. Those barriers along Marina and on Ikorodu Road, completely unnecessary. They narrowed down the lanes for the buses, and a lot of.
What do you have in London?
Hold on, no, you don't. You don't have. Listen, I lived in London for 17 years, sir. So you can't tell me about London. You do not have barriers. You do not have physical barriers. You have bus lanes.
You have lines and
bus lanes.
In some cases,
not with no physical barriers. You don't have physical barriers anywhere in London, sir. You can take that to the bank. All right. What you have is designated bus lanes, which are painted a different color, usually red.
Absolutely.
Okay, from the rest of the road. And you have time restrictions within which you cannot enter those bus lanes if you are not a bus or a taxi. All right? Only buses and taxis. And I actually thought that was what, the Lagos State government wanted to do. But now, the problem we now have is that the BRT buses are not enough to go around. And they don't last because the roads are bad. So now you've removed a major source of transportation from the roads without replacing it with anything. So there are two sets of people suffering here. The commuters are suffering, okay, and they are being told to exercise and walk more because it helps them get fit by, officials of the Lagos State government, which is quite sad, insensitive. Okay, and then you've also got the OKADAs who are losing their jobs. Now, some of these guys, I want to make bold to tell you this. Listen to me very carefully. Listen to me very carefully and take this back to your people.
Which people?
The OKADA riders, okay, a lot of them already were disenfranchised people. People who could not find jobs in any other places, okay, and who perhaps would have been predisposed to go into crime. They saw OKADAs as a means of making some honest money.
You also are aware that they use those.
Allow me to finish. But cars are also used to commit crime. Taxis are used to kidnap people. A lot of the kidnappers that were arrested recently by the Lagos State Police Command were operating with vehicles, with cars. So please remove the idea. You are the one lowering the tone, sir. You are the one lowering
the tone.
There are pros and cons.
You are the one lowering the tone.
The advantages,
You are not listening.
The advantages of banning this Okada.
You are not listening. We're talking about the people of Lagos here, and you seem to be hung up on this idea of some ideal government that is not working for the people.
All right, hold on, gentlemen. Hold on.
It's not about cosmetics.
We're
talking about really doing things to affect the lives of the greater number of people of Lagos.
In the next few seconds,
that's what we're talking about.
We would have to shut down our studio in the next few seconds, but I need you to react to this. You know that in Victoria Island, there's usually a lot of traffic, and most of the people, indeed all the people that own cars in Victoria Island, when they get to the offices, they park their cars and begin to use bikes. So what's going to happen to those people?
Well, I don't work in VI, and I'm not a staff of Lagos Ministry of Transportation. But in my opinion, what I was saying before was that in Abuja. In Abuja, they
stop comparing.
No, wait now.
The roads in Abuja are perfect.
Let me make my point.
Do not compare Abuja.
Let me make my point.
To make his point because there's no
time.
Go on.
Quickly. Go on and make your comparison. Go
to the point.
Go ahead and make your false comparison. I'll listen to you.
Anywhere. What I'm saying is that you see, government must take a decision on some things.
Okay.
I know there are fallouts. You know, people may not be happy with what is going on.
You can't just make any decision because you have to make a decision.
This is Lagos. This is not other states. This is the face of this country. You know, and if you see the chaos that this guy that these people characterize, I think should be stopped.
All right,
should be curtailed.
Okay, all right.
The issue of Victoria Island, I personally think that again it brings to the fore the craziness of this law. It doesn't make sense. You have a district, the business district, the central business district of Lagos, the veritable central business district of Lagos, of Nigeria even, okay? People cannot move around because you've banned Okadas. Allow me to finish, please.
We have to run.
Because the roads are terrible. The roads are in a terrible state. All the roads, virtually all the roads in Victoria Land, except for, and I can count them on the fingers of my hand, except for Akin Adeshola, Adeola Odeku, Saka Tinubu, and Bishop Oluwole.
I'm afraid, gentlemen,
that's it.
We have to.
All the other roads are terrible.
We have to let it go at this point, Mr. Babatunde, but I must say thank you.
Thank you so much.
Coming, and I do hope that your points were taken.
And
I think you should appreciate government.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate government.
You should get back to government.
Okay, all right, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was beautiful having you here, and thank you for letting us be a part of your evening. Those of you that send in tweets, I can just take one or two. Jide Ajayi, in a simple language, Okada bans a mistake since there is no alternative. Bolagade Awoyemi, Lagos State government should prepare to face security threats as most Okada riders may end up seeking illegal means to survive. Temidayo Olofinsawo says, true Okada riders are reckless, but government needs to provide alternatives. Crime has just gone a notch higher in Lagos. I don't know how true that is. These Okada riders no longer have jobs. If they decide to turn to crime now, well, I'm afraid we'll have to leave it at that. What roads are left if Okada riders are barred from flying over 450 roads? This is impacting negatively
even roads on Lagosians. That don't exist.
All right, thank you, Mr. Badamosi. Well, I have to say good night. Thank you for letting us be a part of your evening. I'm Neo Taegbe. Have yourself a good night.